Okay, so before we get started solving these, we're going to make a few notes here on the left. So remember that if it's pointing to the left like this, it is less than. So less than. I'm pointing to the right. This is greater than. Okay, and then if it has the line underneath it, so less than or equal to. So this is less than or equal to. And this is greater than or equal to. So this might be easier. So less than or equal to. And then this over here is greater than or equal to. And then when we go to graph these on a number line, if it's less than or if it's greater than, it's an open circle on the number. And this may make more sense if this is something that's been pushed to the back of your memory. When we start doing a few, hopefully this will jog your memory. And if it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, whenever you graph it, it's a closed circle. It's like a shaded circle. Okay, so I have a few marked that we're going to do together. I try to do a little bit of a variety, and then you guys will be able to practice the rest. So looking at number 1, you have 3 times x minus 4 is greater than negative 18. So first thing we're going to do is distribute this 3 on the outside. So we have 3x minus 12 is greater than or equal to negative 18. Okay, next we're going to move the constant away from the variable. So we're going to move this minus 12, so we're going to add 12. So then we're left with, on the left, 3x is greater than negative 6. Solve for x. So right now the 3 and the x are multiplying. So to get it away, we're going to divide. And our final answer is x is greater than, oh, that's a terrible greater than, negative 2. So what this means is x is greater than negative 2. So actually negative 2 could not be our answer. It's got to be numbers greater than negative 2. So whenever we graph it, and it doesn't matter what numbers you put down here as long as negative 2 is in there. So I'm going to put negative 2 here. And then this is going to be negative 4 here. And then negative 2, negative 1, and this will be 0 here. So then since it's greater than, if I look back over at my notes, that tells me an open circle. So I'll put an open circle on negative 2, and it's all the numbers that are greater than negative 2. So negative 2 could not be one of my answers, but negative 1 would make this statement true. 0 would make this statement true. 1 would make this statement true, but negative 2 does not. Negative 2 is not included in the answer. Okay, let's go over to number 4. I chose number 4 just because it has that fraction in there. All right, so let's go ahead with number 4. So first thing is we're going to distribute this 4/3 to the 6y and the 21. So remember, in order to multiply these, we need to make these fractions themselves. So 4/3 times 6. So I'm going to do a little mental math here. I know 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3. So 24 divided by 3 is 8y. Plus, okay, I know 4 times 21 is going to be 84. 3 times 1 is 3. 84 divided by 3 is going to be 28. So that actually worked out rather nicely. So we got rid of those fractions early. So greater than or equal to 43. So now looking on that left side, I see before I even do anything else that there are some things I can combine together. I can combine together this 28 minus the 17. So 8y. So then 28 minus 17 is going to be 11. So plus 11 is greater than or equal to 43. Okay, now we have a two-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 11. Subtract 11. So now we have 8y. It's greater than or equal to 32. So divide by 8. Divide by 8. So my answer is y is greater than or equal to 4. So this time my answer does include 4. So this time 4 could be my answer. 5 could be my answer. 6 could be my answer. But it just can't be any number that is less than 3. So I'm going to say 4 here. 2, 6. So since it's a greater than or equal to, that tells me I have a closed circle on 4. And then I shade my line to the right. And if you want to check, just like when we do multi-step equations, you can plug 4, you could plug 10, any number that is greater than or equal to 4 back into the equation to see if it makes it true. Okay, we're going to skip to number 6. Alrighty, for number 6, and I chose this one solely because it has that negative variable. So let's start with this one. Remember with multi-step, we want to move our variables to the left. And inequalities is the reason that I like moving or getting into that habit of moving our variable to the left. It's not the way that you always have to do it, but it makes one less step there at the end. So first thing we want to do is we want to move our variable to the left. So we have 2r. So to move it over here, we're going to subtract 2r on both sides. Subtract 2r. And then I'm going to rewrite my equation. So I get 10. And I'm going to cancel these out. So I have net minus r minus 2r. So whenever there's no coefficient in front of the variable, we have to think what would be there. So there's only one r there, so that means it's 1r. So negative 1 minus 2r. So now we're going to have minus 3r. And if you ever do not like the variables that they give you to use, you can always just change it to x, y, whatever it is you like. All right, so now we want to get our constant away from our variable, so we're going to move it over. These cancel out. So on the left, we have negative 3r is less than negative 36. All right, so here are where things are going to get a little different. So now we're going to divide, or, we have this negative 3 in the r. They're multiplying. So to get it away from the r, we're going to divide. So here's where a new rule comes into play. Whenever you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, then you flip your sign. So since we are dividing by a negative here, we're going to do r, and this less than is going to become a greater than. Negative 36 divided by negative 3 is 12. So let me look up here. If you notice, if you look back, and I'm going to come back down to that one, so sorry to skip, but if you notice up here, like the number that we were dividing the 3 into, so the numerator was negative, but the 3 that we were dividing into it was positive. That doesn't flip the sign. We didn't care that that -6 was negative, but the number we were dividing into it, the -3, we do care when that's negative. So that makes you flip the sign. So greater than means we have an open circle. So I'm going to put my 12 in the middle. That is my preference. That doesn't mean that that's where you put it. 14, 10. It's an open circle. So that means that 12 could not be a solution. So open circle, 12 cannot be a solution. 13 can, 14 can, 15 can. 12 cannot, 11 cannot, 10 cannot. So it's not 12, so it's numbers greater than 12. It could be 12.1. 12.1 would work, but not 12. All right, and the last one we're going to do together, number 11. Okay, so now we have variables on both sides. We have parentheses on both sides. There's a lot of moving parts on this one. So let's start by distributing to our parentheses. So -2 times 4n is going to be -8n. Hopefully I don't run out of room. I'm trying to write as small as possible. -2 times -7, 2 negatives in multiplication makes a positive. So plus 14 is greater than or equal to. Okay, this 10 has absolutely nothing to do with our parentheses. So -3n. And then -3 times -8. Again, the 2 negatives makes a positive. All right, so just looking at this as a whole, I can see that on the right, I'm going to have some things I can combine together. But on the left, I do not. So I'm just going to rewrite that left side. So plus 14 is less than or equal to. Okay, so we can combine this 10 and the 24. So I like to write my variables first. We're going to do -3n, but if you did it the other way, that would be fine. Plus 34. So if you wrote 34 minus 3n, as long as you solve it correctly, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to move my variables to the left. So I'm going to add 3n. These on the left cancel. -8n plus 3n is 5n. Plus 14 is greater than or equal to 34. Okay, now I'm going to get my constant over. So I'm going to subtract 14. So we have 5n. Oh, that was almost forgot my negative. Whew, that would have been a big mess up. Okay, so -8n plus 3n. This should have been a negative. All right, so these cancel. So -5n is less than or equal to, man, I almost messed up there too. 34 minus 14 is 20. Okay, so then we're dividing by negative. So you should already have in your head what's going to happen when you divide by that negative. What is it that happens when we divide by that negative? So n, what happens to the sign when we divide by negative? It flips. So greater than or equal to -4. So I'm going to put this time, and so 2 things here. So first, remember to flip your sign because we divided by negative. Now, n is greater than or equal to -4. So that does mean that 4 is included in our answer. So -4 could be a solution. So -4 and all the numbers greater than -4. So it would, so -4 would be an answer. -2, -1, All those are possibilities. When you get here down to the bottom, once you solve it, it's asking you to choose all the numbers that are solutions. So for 13 and 14, there could be multiple answers.